Hello, I'm Graeme Park, and welcome to another Creative Futures session where I talk to a variety of creative industry professionals in front of an online audience of students from Glyndwr University. Today, we're joined by the Director of Creative Engagement at Theatr Clwyd in Anglesey. Please welcome Gwennan Mair Jones. Hello, Gwennan.
Hiya, how are you? You all right?
Very good. Listen, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me and my students. Now, you're the Theatr Clwyd your Theatr Clwyd creative engagement team works with tens of thousands of young people and hundreds of schools to advance creativity and to develop new skills. But before we come to that, before we come to your role and Theatr Clwyd, tell us a bit about yourself, your background, how you got to where you are. For example, did the young Gwennan grow up wanting to be a director of creative engagement? Tell us about your journey.
Really good question. First of all, Graeme, just to note, Theatr Clwyd is actually in Mold in Wyddgrug.
Apologies. That's a good start, isn't it?
We're in North Wales. We're all in North Wales, which is lush.
Exactly.
So yeah, where did I start? So I grew up in Blaenau Ffestiniog, on a farm. My mum's a farmer, and my dad was the local GP. And I always knew, I think from a very young age, that I definitely didn't want to be a farmer. Nothing against them at all, but growing up on a farm is lush and like the best way of, growing up, but it definitely didn't inspire me in the same way as I have discovered the arts does. I struggled a little bit in school. I am severely dyslexic. I'm happy to say that I am. I think it's actually a really positive thing. My brain works in a slightly different way, and I think that's a good and positive thing. I have never really read a book in my entire universe life. So scripts and recording myself speaking and learning poetry and creating my own songs and art was always a kind of passion, and I think a mechanism that made me cope through school. So it was always something that I felt a part of. It was something that I felt at home. And I also found my best friends through creativity. So living in North Wales, you can struggle sometimes to find people that are like-minded to you, or that think in the same way or see the world in the same way. But through the arts, you can find people that do feel the same as you, I guess. Apologies, I talk a lot with my hands and my feelings, and
it's all right.
I talk a lot about textures. I visualize it quite a lot.
Same here.
Ace. And yeah, I then really wanted to do something that was meaningful. So I kind of didn't really want to follow a career that meant that I was going to be on stage performing to an audience. But I did love the arts, so I really struggled in finding like, what else can you do? And I guess in education, you only get taught really the fact that you can only do the kind of jazz hands performance element of stuff, like backstage, directors, choreographers, stage managers, sound designers, and never really something that you come across kind of by accident. You have to know about it, or you have to have a member of the family that knows how to do that. And it's something that I'm really passionate in terms of our programs here at Clwyd. Like, how can we actually give opportunities to people in all aspects of making theatre, not just the obvious ones. So my passion really came to kind of vision when I realized that you could actually blend community work and social care and social justice and activism with the arts. And I knew I didn't want to be a teacher, but I knew I wanted to kind of facilitate and direct and kind of enable people to to have the arts as part of their lives if they wanted it. So yeah, I kind of brought two aspects of my life in terms of, I did actually think of being a nurse or a social worker. So
Really?
that was something that I'd really looked into. And then yeah, found this degree in LIPA, which was community drama, which kind of ticked both boxes really. I was still allowed to kind of enhance my skills in terms of being a community director and creating plays and making things happen on stages or in warehouses or in like, I'm really interested in gig theatre and stuff like that. And then kind of building my kind of skills in terms of how do you use drama and theatre and arts in the community as a tool to social change.
And how did your dyslexia affect doing this drama degree at LIPA?
So I was diagnosed when I was in year 8. So I did get quite a lot of support through school. And then LIPA was actually pretty phenomenal in terms of the support that they gave me. Yeah, I got like a personal tutor that really helped with dissertations and stuff like that, but also kind of recognizing that you know, the practical side of stuff was my absolute forte and the writing part was always not great. So how do you measure that in terms of, if you do know what to do in the rehearsal room, surely you do know it up here. It's just your mechanism of writing it on a paper is slightly different, isn't it? So yeah, I really started to listen to my dissertations quite a lot. So there's like an incredible app, I don't know if anyone else has this, but you can actually listen to the writing that you've created, and I can then hear spelling mistakes when someone else is reading it for me. So little tips like that was you know, really powerful. And of course I did all my education through the medium of Welsh language, so English language is my second language, so I've also got that. But to get where I am now, I think the fact that I have done a degree through the medium of English language, my second language, has really strengthen my communication skills, my grammar and my way of writing and stuff like that. But I think it's really important to play on the stuff that you're good at. So, you know, channeling that practical energy or that different way of thinking into a positive thing rather than seeing it as a negative.
So no, that's very good advice. So you get your degree at LIPA. What was your plan? You're learning about your craft. What was your plan based on, you know, what your beliefs and passions were? What was your plan after graduating?
So I wanted to return back home. I had big ties to North Wales. I had actually lived in Italy for the 2 summers in between education years in uni, where I was teaching drama there in Italy for 3 months, so in total 6 months. And I got in touch with all of the local theatre companies in Wales, basically knocking on everyone's door to tell them that I am happy and willing to like volunteer, do anything that could get me into any kind of art scene. Like, I really appreciate how hard it is when you're on that peak of graduating and you might not have those contacts within the industry. What do you do? Like, if that's any, you know, one of the things that I've written down that I wanted to remember to say was like, don't be afraid to kind of, if you know a theatre company that you want to be connected to, or not just a theatre company, but like a business or like someone in the industry or the specific industry that you want to go into, knock on their doors. Like they you know, we're quite polite people, aren't we? And we sometimes are not very good at talking how good we are. It's so important to tell people that you are willing to do stuff, that you're here, that you're eager to learn, don't wait for it to come to you, because it never will. Like, you have to work for it. So yeah, I got in touch with everyone that I could think of, you know, Googled every theatre company that was kind of close to my remit. And I volunteered for Cwmni Fran Wen, which is a theatre company on Anglesey.
That's where I got Anglesey from, yeah. Right.
That specifically works with young people. I got an apprentice job with them for 10 weeks, where I went to the Ed Fringe with them, and like I got a shadow role of Fionn Have was one of the directors that was working with them at the time. I got to shadow her and see how she worked, and then they created a full-time job for me there.
Wow.
They obviously saw that there was potential, or there was something, and yeah, I was really lucky in terms of that. I stayed there for 3 years, and got to work with them, got to run their participation side of their work, got to direct the most ridiculous pieces of theatre with young people, rented a double-decker bus with a brass band playing from the roofs of it, with a cast of 40 young people, touring around the coast of North Wales. We made a gig theatre in a massive warehouse in Caernarfon, where the audience didn't know it was a theatre production, that we had marketed it as a new band that was playing. So Spectol was actually the new band. It was actually a piece of radical theatre that was talking about losing the Welsh language and diversity within our society. So yeah, like it was a really special time to kind of get back to the roots of why I love theatre, what makes it special here in North Wales, and also it was quite incredible being able to deliver in my first language, like being able to be in a rehearsal space, being able to make theatre in the kind of the core of where you're from is quite extraordinary. And then yeah, I saw this job. Director of Creative Engagement at Theatr Clwyd, which is the biggest producing house in Wales. This was a new role. It was a new department. It was a new, I'd heard about Tamara Harvey, who's our artistic director, knew that she was absolutely extraordinary, and wanted to work with her, and really saw the opportunity that I could learn so much from her and from Liam, who's the exec. So yeah.
You said they created this role, but it sounds like, you know, based on what you've told us and what you did after you graduated, it sounds like they made this role specifically for you, even though they didn't. I mean, how did you feel when you saw the job description?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't made for me specifically, but I did get quite a lot of people sending it to me, going, have you seen this? This looks like you have to go for it. I was 24 though, so I was still, you know, still thinking I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I kind of wanted to travel the world and kind of be a little bit more sporadic, I guess, with my identity and who I am and where I need to be. So 24, getting a senior management role was quite scary, and then managing a team of 8 core staff, and then
how did you cope with that? Because obviously you've been brought up as you're a creative person, and directing and putting on events is creative, but then how did you learn on the job how to be a manager, or did you get any help with that?
I did get primarily learning on the job, and kind of really picking up how other people do it, and how I felt was a good way of doing, like, managing. Like, there is really good managers and there's really bad managers, and you can see it when you observe it sometimes and you're in those atmospheres.
Well, the thing about creative minds, a lot of the creatives I know can't even manage themselves, let alone other people. So
yeah, and it's interesting. I can't manage myself. I'm really crap at that. Like, my time management, my car is an absolute mess. Like,
okay,
you know, but I feel like I have developed the skill of managing other people through learning on the job. But I have had some coaching in it as well. I've had some mentorship and some really helpful people to kind of sound off any hard and difficult kind of decisions that I have to make.
So what type of people do you manage then?
So at the moment, our team has slightly shrunk because of COVID and other issues, and I'll talk a little bit about how this year's kind of affected us again. But I have in a full team, I have 3 associates, so a theatre associate, a dance associate, and a visual arts associate who work in creative engagement. A community producer, a coordinator, a creative engagement admin assistant, and what else? And then we are creating a new job as a creative engagement manager as well that will be that'll be working in my team to do more of. This is the beautiful thing, I guess, about Theatr Clwyd is that because they do want me to deliver more and that I am a creative brain, they are trying to figure out ways of finding another someone that does have the skills of management a little bit more than me, and maybe that can support the work that we then create. So it is about building on the skills that you know you have. Like, yes, imposter syndrome absolutely happens, and you think that you're not good enough, and you do have to work hard at things. Like I'm at the moment working like 70 hours a week, like properly, and no joke, it's hardcore. You have to work for it, but it is about learning, and it's about embedding your way of thinking and your brain into the organization as well, and seeing it as a positive thing.
So this creative event manager will be working with you. When are you going to? I'm just thinking about some of the students who might be graduating. When are you posting that job? When are you putting it out there?
Yeah, so this summer, and we will be. So that is a new job. The coordinator is a new job as well. A colleague of mine has just taken early retirement, so I'm at the moment coordinating, managing, and running the department. And then alongside that, we will be creating new associate roles as well. So in terms of Theatr Clwyd, we are expanding our community work so that it is genuinely at the heart of where this organisation lies. A lot of kind of youth kind of departments or creative engagement departments sometimes sit on the side of theatres and don't get seen as actually the proper productions or the actual like professional side of it. So we're really shifting where creative engagement lies within the building. So it is absolutely integral to the strategic kind of way forward that we're moving. So there'll be 5 or 6 other associates as well, which will be creative posts.
So people can contact the theatre or keep their eye on various creative job sites. So talk us through an idea. How do you get your ideas? Where do you get your inspirations from? And tell us about the work you do with schools as well.
Yeah, really interesting. I get my ideas, I believe, through people. I love working with different people from different backgrounds, from different places in the world, from also different lived experiences. I think we are far richer from sharing stories and telling stories, and there's something really beautiful about theatre where it is about collaboration, and having different minds in a space is extraordinary. So when I come up with projects, for instance, we are now at the beginning of starting a new project with social services, working with 30 young people and 10 cross-art form artists. On Saturday, they are all coming into the building, which I'm very excited about. Woohoo! and I don't know what this project is yet. The only thing I've sorted out is 4 days of training for the artists in terms of facilitation, but the voices of the community, of the young people, of the artists that are taking part will lead this.
So it's a collaborative process then?
Yeah, I really believe in it, and I really believe in not being the power, the big people on top making decisions on what projects should be in the community. I think it's the wrong way around. I genuinely think that we need to be listening on the ground a lot more, and that we need to be talking to people and having empathy and being open. Theatres should be open places, not closed doors. Why are rehearsals always closed? It doesn't make any sense. Like, why do we close the special magic part that happens in a rehearsal space? Why can't a group of young people that are cycling outside, that are putting the bales on bloody fire like they did last year, why can't they come in and hang out? And that's what we did, and it's beautiful. Like, that's what this place should be. I'm also in the rehearsal room, by the way. I thought I would potentially show you
wow,
one of our rehearsal spaces.
Brilliant. So you'll have 30 people in there at the weekend?
15, so we're only allowed 15.
All right.
So I've got two. Brilliant. I've taken 2 spaces. Yeah.
It's interesting. You're the second person this week to say that rehearsal rooms should be open to the public.
Oh.
I spoke to Nikolai Foster, who's the artistic director of the Curve Theatr in Leicester, and he said exactly the same. So that's an interesting new theme that I think is definitely worth developing. So presumably, you're open to people coming to you with ideas as well. How would people do that?
Absolutely. Yeah, like, I'm really interested in other people's ideas and how we can make them happen, because I know funding and opportunities are really, really hard to kind of fall by at the moment. Even if it's like support in terms of management, or like producing something, or how to get that first bit of stuff going. Like, we have a range of people that work here that can genuinely support people through project development, but any creative ideas as well, like, absolutely. I can't think of all the projects that we should be doing all the time. That's why I love having a team of creative minds working with me on this. But
yeah, well, I mean, presumably you work a lot with our actors, musicians, and dancers and writers, but what about other creatives, people from other parts of the creative sector? For example, artists, photographers, filmmakers, podcasters. Is there a role or a way to involve other creatives?
Yeah, definitely. And this is what's, I think, special about this program that we're creating at this moment. So I've got a visual artist on board, Ibekin she's from Manchester. She's an incredible artist. I'm happy to send some links to the work that she does. Who else have we got? I've got a stage manager on board. Who's been it's been really interesting in the training, because they've kind of rebelled against this thing of going, well, I actually don't have a creative skill, and I'm going, well, yes you do, because the whole thing that you're doing within and keeping everything in place is creative.
I get that. I work with a stage manager who does a show I do with over 100 people, and I've never seen such creativity in organizing everyone.
Yeah, and then I've also got a sound designer, musician, Ennio and the Little Brother, who some of you might have heard. He's a local lad from Buckley. He does incredible spoken word. He produces all his own tracks and his own work himself. And then also I have some actors and directors and stage combat performers, writers on. I think there is something really, really beautiful about fusing different kind of aspects of Backstage, or like known as Backstage kind of work, with kind of performance element of stuff, and our role in terms of showcasing that for young peoples and the next generation. and how do we genuinely make those opportunities accessible to people that don't have financial support, that can't drive, you know, like it's really crap being sometimes in Theatr Clwyd, because I know people have to drive to get here because the buses are so shit. Like, so how can actually, you know, should we invest in a taxi business alongside the theatre? Like, no joke, like there's things like that we're thinking about, that to make this place genuinely accessible, because it's not. And there are so many other theatres that, you know, you can come across in big cities and walk by, and it's not the same here in North Wales. So we need to find ways of genuinely opening up those doors, I think.
Do you think it helps that you are a North Wales girl and you're passionate about the area? Do you think that comes across in your work, and the fact that you know your community? Does that help?
Yeah, I think it does help. I don't think you have to either. Like, I think you can get to know a community, but I would say it takes like 3 years for a community to start trusting you. I feel like, so I've been in my job 4 years. It's this last year, even though that we've been in a pandemic and all of our work has had to start, like, this is the year that I've genuinely felt that people will actually call and will make those kind of genuine connections with us.
So tell us, right, okay, the past year, the pandemic, the creative sector, and particularly the live and performance sector, has been probably the worst hit. How have you dealt with that? What ideas have you come up with, and what have you done for the past 12 months?
Yeah, it's been a really, really hard year for many places and many colleagues, and I think for people like you guys that are studying as well, like not knowing what the future holds is really, really tough. Yeah, what have we done? So we started with transferring all of our weekly workshops, companies, arts and health programs onto Zoom workshops, very similar to this. Where at our peak, we were reaching about 1,000 people a week through our provision, through different art workshops, music lessons as well. We then, over the summer, did a whole summer programme working with social services for the most vulnerable young people in Cedar Flint, Flintshire. We also did a whole programme online, so from like activities that you could do at home to like masterclasses from different creatives that we've worked with before. We then also in the summer were the test venue for Welsh Government on outdoor performances. So we were the only theatre that was actually able to open last year in any sort of form. So we had an outdoor stage. We could have 100 people sitting safely in creative little pods. We worked with a theatre designer to create those pods so that they felt really, really festive and still really creative and fun, and still safe. So yeah, we had I think it was actually like 6-7 weeks of actual programme, from kind of comedy nights to gig nights, to like spoken word evenings. The beauty of this was it allowed us to genuinely reconnect with audiences and our community, and also support local artists. Because of the travel ban, it was only like local people that could perform. Yeah. So it was really beautiful, actually. It felt really like, just felt kind of manageable, but in a like homely in a way. It was really cool. And then we started to bring all of our workshops and stuff back in the autumn into the building. And then kind of October, second lockdown hit, where we started to plan for our panto. So if any of you guys are local, panto is our big thing. And the most important thing in our schedule, because it's where we get our income. Most of our work in the community department couldn't happen if panto doesn't happen. So
what panto? What was your panto? What panto were you going to do? this year?
We were doing Sleeping Beauty.
Okay.
So we are doing that now this year.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure.
Cross fingers.
Yeah.
But what we did an adaptation of a new piece of panto script, which was the panto that nearly never was, which was an hour-long panto, still written by Christian Pattinson. We still were able to rehearse this hour piece for 2 weeks. So therefore, still employing all the actors, all the creatives that were contracted. We kept all contracts that we'd created throughout the year and lived by them. Like everyone was still paid if they were contracted by us.
How did you do that though? Because obviously you said your biggest earner is your panto. You can't sell tickets for events. You can't have the public in. So how did you pay? How did you manage to keep your contracts?
So we were extremely lucky. So Flintshire County Council, they really stood by us from the beginning. First lockdown, they said that they would support any loss of income that happened over the year.
Wow, that's really good.
And which is amazing. Fair play to them, and also our support from Arts Council of Wales. So we were one of the largest actually revenue funded clients for the Arts Council. And their recovery fund really supported us in that first lockdown.
Did you have to apply? Did you have to apply for it though? Yeah. So yeah. That must have you applied for funding before, or was this something that was new to you?
It was a real team effort. So there was a couple of us looking after it and making sure it was a very similar form to how other kind of Arts Council grants ask for money, and yeah, I've had to fill quite a lot of funding applications in to support a lot of the work that we do. We're also going through capital development, so there's massive shifts happening with our building and new design. This will be a 2-heighted rehearsal room, because at the moment we can't rehearse any sets that have 2 floors in it. So there's loads of, so we're funding for a lot of cash at the moment to help with our capital development stuff.
Yeah, well, a lot of the stuff you said, they don't teach you that on a drama degree, do they?
No, they don't. And like business plans and stuff like that, and even like how to apply for jobs and like CVs and all of those things. In like if you become freelance, how do you make sure that you keep all your receipts? Especially for someone like me that just throws their receipts into the bonnet of the car, because you just like not bonnet into the boot of the car, because you're like, yeah, I don't need to do that. Like you have to be really organized or like disciplined with yourself and go, hey, like I am, I'm going to treat this as and respect that kind of side of it. But it is difficult. There is some incredible tutorials actually on kind of YouTube, and I'll try and find them if that's helpful. I did a few that was really helpful in terms of just like what are the breakdown things that you need to remember when you do things like that.
It's an important lesson to get across, because creative people are so involved in their creativity that they often forget the nuts and bolts of being a freelancer. And the majority of people who are watching today, when they graduate, will be freelancer. Sorry, you were going to say something there.
Yeah, I just that it's okay to ask for help. Like don't pretend if you're struggling with it, like, because it is a different side of our brain. It is other skills, but you try and find those people that are good with those in your maybe friendships or family or even kind of colleagues or people that are on this line, like to support you, because I think you can get through it if you are honest about sometimes what you're not good at. Like it's okay to go, hey, do you know this thing that we have to do and fill in this form? It's making me feel really sick, and I've tried to do it 5 times and I'm pushing the wrong stupid button. Or we've just started a new bloody finance system here and I'm absolutely drowning in it. I had to submit an invoice the other day, but it's a new way, and I'm going, what's this new way? Because that's not how I've made my brain think the other one was working. And it's okay to do that. We don't, like, a lot of the time, I think artists are perfectionists as well, because we're so ingrained in our craft and in our skills, and it's such a part of us, isn't it? So we don't like to say that we're shit at something, or that we're kind of struggling with this bit, or yeah. So I just think it's okay to sometimes say, hey, I'm really struggling with this, and can I have some help?
So you mentioned earlier about doing stuff on Zoom and doing stuff remotely and online. Do you think, and hopefully by the end of the summer, theatres and live venues will start to get back to some kind of normality, but do you think remote performances and online teaching and working is here to stay? Can it work alongside the live shows?
I think there's an element of it that can. I think it's really hard to judge at the moment, because I think we're all mega zoomed out.
Oh yeah. Well, not on a Thursday though, because we got amazing guests like you. But yeah, carry on.
But like at the moment, I don't want to like engage in any online thing, because I'm on it all day, and I'm sure you all are feeling the same thing. And I just want to dance. Like, I don't know if anyone else is craving that. I want to be in a nightclub and I want to dance, or a live gig, or feel live again. That's another discussion. But yeah, so I think, but in terms of access, I think there is a kind of role for it potentially. You know, we started a program, Dance for Parkinson's, in the first lockdown. We've done a couple of workshops in the building before the first lockdown, but we had to stop it really fast, and we basically realized that there was like individuals that were contacting us from all over Wales that wanted this provision, and they have stuck with us. There's 16 of them. They've stuck with us from that first lockdown. You know, we're talking now of bringing sessions back into the building the week of the 17th of May, and they all don't live close enough to be part of this program. And they're going, oh, please, please don't cancel, you know, please, please, can we still continue to do something online? Also, that they're feeling really safe at home. Like, they have their support networks at home. They don't have to travel anywhere. Talking about traveling to Theatr Clwyd earlier, like, it is a barrier. But I think we also have to be aware of digital poverty as well, and how actually everything's online, that we do exclude in that way as well. And I think it can be like, and I'm sure some of you here that, you know, that love the technical element of digital worlds, there is something really exciting about mashing and fusing that live and tech side, isn't there? And it can bring in a new creative flavour and feeling to things, I think. So yeah, I think it's taught us a lot. I think it's allowed us to connect with artists and networks that we never would have before, and made it a lot easier for us to go kind of international in a way as well, all of us, like, and tune into things that is happening the other side of the world, which is incredible. We're launching, so check out next Tuesday, we're launching our next season of outdoor stuff versus we've got 2 productions coming up, and also online stuff. So it's a bit of a taster really, in terms of and a pilot test for us to see how does that work, how many people will actually engage with online stuff, how many people will engage with the outdoor stuff, and also, you know, audiences in terms of coming to see plays again. Is it something people want, or is it just us that work in the arts that want it? I don't know. We don't know yet, do we?
No, we don't. But we'll find out. Talking of online, how important is an online presence, not just for Theatr Clwyd, but for yourself and for creatives in general?
Yeah, I think it's a really important thing. I think because all of our work as individual artists, everyone looks for you know, collaboratives, via their website or their Twitter or their Instagram. Like, if you don't want someone to look at your stuff as an employer, make it private. That's one thing. Or have a business account. Like, have a profile that is your you know, artwork, is your is your texture of stuff that you do. Like, I think that's really important. I think it is difficult if you don't, especially if you don't like I'm looking for artists always to work collaboratively on projects, like and if someone says someone's name, I'll Google them and I'll check out their website, you know, like it's, and if you don't have a website, that's then the communication stops there, which is probably, you know, we probably need to find another way. Like, it is easier with actors because, you know, they have asiantaethau,
I think
Agents, yeah. Sorry, I was on mute. And
Yeah.
agents, yeah.
Agents, that's it. Thank you, Ellen Mai. Thank you, Ellen Mai.
Yeah, dim problem.
They have agents, but it's a different thing, isn't it, in terms of other art forms? It's not, it is kind of word of mouth. It is kind of the networks that you're in. And I'd say that as well, networking when we're allowed, going to things, going to galleries, going to see, you know, getting into those press nights, like meeting people, making yourself seen and heard is a part of the game. Unfortunately, you can't really be invisible unless you don't want work, you know, like you have to, I think you need to be quite proactive in selling yourselves.
You mentioned agents. What's your experience with dealing with agents, and are they essential if an actor wants to get some work with you, or any creative who has an agent?
Yeah, I don't work very closely with agents, so I know our artistic director and my theatre associate works closer with them. I have done over lockdown a couple of like one-to-one, like 20-minute catch-ups over Zoom with a couple of kind of agencies, and they've kind of paired us up with actors and facilitators. Yeah, I guess it's a slightly different world to mine because because I'm a lot, but it's, yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Yeah, I'm
well, if you don't worry, if you don't really deal with agents. Going back to collaborative work, have you got any tips or advice for people? Because a lot of the students on a module I do, I put people from different disciplines together to work on a collaborative project, and it throws up, people either get on really well or they don't, or something in the middle. What if you like get approached by someone and you love their work, but then you start working with them and it's a bit difficult? What tips or advice would you give for collaborative working? I mean, you did touch earlier about listening to people and you know, being aware, you know, showing some empathy towards people. But I mean, apart from that, what else?
Yeah, I think also communication is massive. Like, if you haven't told someone that, for instance, if you just moved house in with someone and you thought you loved them and then they don't do the dishes, and that's really annoying, you know, though, it's those little things, isn't it? Like, or someone's not pulling their weight and they say in all the meetings that they're pulling their weight, but they're actually not. Or like, you know, all of that, I remember all of that stuff. That makes me feel quite sick. But if you don't tell people that that's really annoying you, how do they know? Like, you know, I think there is something really important about creating some sort of contract at the beginning of a process. Even if it's little bullet points, it doesn't have to be a formal contract of what you want to get out of this. What does every partner want to get out of this? What does everyone in this room want to get out of it? And, you know, what are the things that really annoy them from maybe the last project that they did collaboratively, so that we don't bring that into this room? Or like, for instance, it's quite important for me to leave leave my world, my home life out of the rehearsal door. It's there, and you come in as your professional self. Like, of course you're bringing yourself to it, but I'm not going to bring, for instance, my dramas from this morning into this chat, like, even though someone tried to fraud me, but we won't go into that. But you know, like, how can you create a common language, a common way forward? Debriefs are incredible. At the end of every day, like, have half an hour, half a beer or a cup of tea, like, and chat it through, like, what's been really good, what hasn't worked very well, and what should we do tomorrow? Like, what should we actually focus on tomorrow? Is everyone happy with that? Like, and also shared responsibility. You know, maybe one day it's one person that's in charge, the next day it could be another. Like, how do you share those responsibilities so it's not just one dictator that has the loud voice that makes all the decisions? I think teamwork, fairness, communication, being honest is really important, but also being mindful of not hurting someone's feelings. Like,
what about, how do you deal with someone who doesn't pick up if you have to pick up the slack from someone who doesn't do what they say they do, but you've got deadlines to meet? How do you cope with people like that?
Just don't work with them ever again. No.
Okay. No, I think that's probably the best way to do it. Don't work with them ever again.
It's hard, isn't it? Like, especially I think as a freelancer, like, you are only as good as the last job that you've done. And I remember someone telling me that when I started out, and it's an interesting one, isn't it? Like, we do have to prove ourselves, and we do have to make sure that we are seen to be doing what we say that we want to do. And reputation is massive, like, especially in the first form, like the form of, the years that when you're forming your career, you're creating a name for yourself, your reputation is massive. And it can go either way though. So, like, I think having well-being and looking after yourself and not working too much is also really important. And also, of course, doing what you're going to say you're going to do, but not killing yourself while you're doing it, because it is a really tough industry, and you have this pressure to be your best all the time. And I think we have to sometimes relook at our beautiful industry and go, hang on, are we looking after each other? Are we managing the balance between our lives and the work that we do, because we're so passionate about it?
Yeah, it must be, based on everything you said, you must find this very rewarding, what you do, working with community, being inclusive. Do you think it's fair to say that you've helped break down certain barriers that are normally associated with theatres, and do you think that's slowly beginning to happen elsewhere?
Yeah, I hope so. We can always do more. There's always more stuff that can be improved, and there's always the next generation, so it's always shifting. You should never get stuck, I guess. I think this year has shifted the landscape of how community work within theatres is being discussed within the industry, which is incredible. Like, it's because it's the only thing really that's been allowed to happen over this time, because live performances haven't been allowed to happen in the same way. It feels like it has been celebrated a lot more. It feels like people are starting to understand the importance of it, and that it's not just a tick a box exercise just to get some money for a grant, that actually it can change people's lives, and it can, and we all know it can. We're not in this business because we stepped across it. Like, we're in this because we absolutely find a place here, and it's part of our identity, and it's changed something in our lives. I think there is a shift within the industry. I'm slightly nervous that it's going to go back. Everyone's going to forget the process, the kind of the beautiful progress that's happened this year.
I don't know, because I think people are beginning to realise how important theatre, performance, and creativity in general, how good it is for people's mental health, which is a topic that's come to the fore in the past 12 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the cynical side of me that goes, please, 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 can we not lose what's happened? Because
Are you not kind of hoping that there's a pent up frustration at not being able to engage with others and either watch amazing performances or take part in amazing performances? Are you not hoping there's this pent up frustration that's about to be unleashed on Wales, the UK, and the world?
I hope so. I really, really hope so. And I think it is. It's just making sure that we just don't lose it. Like that we keep this energy and that we just continue to making the arts the best that it can be. Like and making it accessible and keeping that door open there.
It sounds like we need more people like you running theatres, really. Your passion really does come across. Now, just before we wrap up, a few quick fire questions. What advice would you give to level 6 students who are about to graduate this year, who want to work in your sector? But also, what advice would you give to the students who are just about to finish their first year? What can they do to help further their career when they graduate in 2 years' time?
Yeah, I think I might have said this before, but like, get in touch with people, make networks, also the people that are in this space are also your networks and are also your colleagues. You never know when a person from this group might be your boss or might be the artistic director that you need to get in touch with in London, or actually those networks that you have created or are creating in your universities, other universities, hold on to them, make friends, don't make enemies. People remember things like that as well. And I think, just don't sell yourself short, put yourselves out there, don't be afraid to do so.
What about work experience? What about work experience?
Work experience is really important. The more volunteering, work experience, making yourselves known to the industry at this level is even in your first year, second, third, wherever you are, is so important.
I think
was that me?
I don't know. Now, how do people contact you? So say, for example, the jobs you mentioned that are going to come online soon, and maybe people who are in their first or second year, and how would they find jobs at your place in the future?
Yeah, we have a common Theatr Clwyd email that we've just created recently. So I'll send that to you. I don't remember what it's called. I think send
it to me and I'll share it with everyone.
Share it, yeah. Or you can also email me personally. I'm really happy to do so, to kind of you to have that. Yeah, what else was I going to? Also, go and see stuff. That's the other important thing. Go and see as much events, theatre, stuff like that as you can. And if you can't afford it, or anything like that, get in touch. I'd love to make sure that you guys can have as much experiences as you can. It's so important to see work, to feel work, to know what you don't like is really important. What isn't the work that you want to make, or what isn't the sounds that you that is definitely not the vibe that I'm going to go for. Yeah, those things are really, really important as well. But yeah, please get in touch with us if any of you guys are.
But you're open to working with creatives from all disciplines, yeah?
Yeah, we are. So just to be clear, I didn't say this at the beginning, I don't think. So we are the biggest producing house in Wales, with all of our costume, tech, making, set design, wigs. All of those departments are still in-house. Wigs.
I'll be asking you about that later, yeah.
And theatres don't exist in these ways anymore. You normally have to, we are all under the same roof. We have incredible kind of specialities, specialists here that work here like full-time, that you could also have experiences in. It's not just the performance element, it is also the backstage element. And yeah, like I'm really interested in hearing new ideas and ways of kind of connecting with you all. So yeah, get in touch, and I can always forward you on to the right person within this building as well.
Is this your dream job?
Yeah.
So if you got approached by a very famous theatre in London or New York or San Francisco or Edinburgh or Glasgow, would you turn it down, or would you go along and have a look?
Oh.
So is it your dream job?
Can I go for a look and then come back?
Of course you can, yeah. Because you'll be gaining experience. You'll be seeing how other people do things, won't you? And then you'll be able to apply it. And all the good, positive things, you can apply them to what you do. No, you can tell you've got your dream job. What are you most proud of? What are you so proud of? Somebody so young to be being a creative director. What are you most proud of? You see, you've done so much, you can't even think. You're proud of it all, right?
Yeah, I think so. Oh God, I don't know. That's a really hard one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what about? Is there anything what would be your dream project? Something you'd really, really want to do?
I've got a project in my head that is, I don't know if it's my dream project. Do you know what my dream project is? I went to work in Sao Paulo in Brazil for 4 weeks. 3 years ago. I worked in a school there.
Wow.
Which was in the like proper slums of Sao Paulo. And I met this incredible group of young people that I'm still in contact with here and there. Like this year's been a little bit, I've had a few letters, but it's been a bit up in the air. I'd love to create like networks of people across the world, groups of like-minded young people that can create and work together and forge relationships to shift this world and to make sure that like the good energy in the world survives. I think there are incredible people out there that we don't even know of, and I would love that there's like a fusion of art that can bring people together. It's not about being a white savior in like poor countries. That's not what I mean. I mean about like how do we create collaborative lived experience sharing across the universe. I don't know, that's something like that.
Okay, that's quite ambitious, but judging from what you've done in the past, I'm sure it's not you could probably make it happen. Final question I'd like to ask all of our guests: if you could go back in time to the young Gwennan on the farm in North Wales, what would you say to her?
This is like a counselling session.
It's not meant to be. No, but what advice would you give to your younger self? Because you know, when you found out that you were suffering from dyslexia, you had dyslexia, and you know you knew you didn't want to work on a farm, what would you say to your younger self?
I would say don't be afraid of who you really are, and it's okay. Like, yeah, just don't be afraid to stand. That's the other thing, like standing up for other people is something I feel like we're told that we're not supposed to stand up for what's right a little bit, and actually I might have done that a bit when I was younger, and I feel like I've found my voice. So yeah, not to be afraid of saying what you truly believe in. Well,
I'm pretty, you know. Well, based on everything you've said and based on that, so I'm pretty sure you're going to inspire lots of young boys and girls and young men and young women in North Wales in your fantastic role. Gwennan, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Nice one.